March Camp Hill Borough Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and begin with a roll call. Bonnie Bentz.
Here.
Richard Guerin.
Here.
Alyssa Pecker.
Here.
I see ya. Carl Schultz.
Here.
Aaron Vroman. Zach Williard.
Here.
Okay. Before we move to approve the minutes, I do have an update on the Consolidated Properties legal challenge that I'd like to read. So the update is on the Consolidated Properties legal challenge to the borough's denial of the Chick-fil-A subdivision and land development plan. In October of 2020, the Honorable Thomas Placey of the Cumberland County Court of Common Pleas issued a decision upholding the borough's denial of the plan. Consolidated Properties has appealed to the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. Consolidated Properties is required to file a brief by April 5th of 2021, and the borough's special counsel will file a responsive brief 30 days after the filing of Consolidated Properties brief. It is anticipated the Commonwealth Court will hear oral argument later this year and issue a decision near the end of 2021 or early 2022. So there's that. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And are there any changes, updates? May I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the February 10th, 2021 minutes, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, so this brings us to our first time for public comment. Anyone who's joining us from the public, you can raise your hand in two ways. You can click under participants at the bottom of the screen and look for the little blue hand next to your name, or you can go over to reactions and you can use the clapping hand, which looks like a raised hand, and we will unmute you.
All right, Sue, I'm gonna ask her to unmute.
There we go. Oh, no, she came back. There.
Hi. Hi. Hi, everyone.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Hi, guys. Hi, this is Sue Para speaking, and I am the owner of Cornerstone Coffee House, but I am actually here to represent the Downtown Camp Hill Association. I am the chair of Downtown Camp Hill Association, and we just wanted to thank the borough for the support that we continue to get from them in regards to what we have been doing. Our tagline is Thrive Here, and we certainly feel as though our businesses in this borough absolutely thrive here. So thank you very much. And I also just wanted to mention that we do have an upcoming event. It's coming up not this Saturday, next Saturday, March 20th. It's our Spring Fling. We invite all of you to come in and have fun and participate, stroll up and down. We're going to have some Celtic dancers from 2 local studios. We will also have a very lively Irish band. I know that the Millworks is going to have a little happy hour from 4 to 5. There's going to be just a lot going on, and it's just a great way for us in the community to participate and be able to be there and feel as though we're almost normal. But we will be practicing safety, social protocols, etc., masks. But we hope that we can see all of you out there. And if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Sue, that sounds great. I know we're all planning to be there. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have Jennifer.
Good evening, everyone. My comment tonight relates to action item 10B, appointing Ms. Gibson as the right to know officer. I just, in reviewing that, I went to the website and I asked for your consideration that you review the current policy that's on the website. It still denotes Gary Klein as the borough manager and right to know officer, as well as Terry Muchler as the state's agency officer. So I'm hoping that that's under consideration for review and updates. And as you do that, if you can also consider making it easier for residents to identify who that is by adding a quick link to the bottom of the website, as well as designating that under the contact information, et cetera. Otherwise, it seems that the only way residents can find out information about the borough's right to know policy is by actually doing a search word. So again.
Yep, we're a little out of date if we still have Gary Klein there. So thank you. for
Yeah,
that.
so thank you.
And we are updating the website is definitely on our plan over the next couple of months. So we'll remember your comments when we bring a company in to help us do that. So thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, this is the first occasion for public comments. There's another time for public comments at the end of the meeting. All right, the DCNR grant, we held a hearing at 6 p.m. this evening to discuss the grant, and I'm going to turn this over to Carl Schultz to make these motions.
Okay, thanks, Lee. So I would like to make a motion to approve submission of a grant application for improvement of the
Looks like Carl's frozen.
I didn't know if it was Carl's computer or my computer. Okay. We might have to come back. I hate to throw this on somebody else, but I can't make a motion. Zach, can you do this one?
Well, there, he just appeared again.
Are you unfrozen, Carl?
Nope.
Oh, hold on. Let's give him a sec.
He's off altogether.
Here he
There
comes.
he is.
I don't know what happened there. I lost my connection, so I don't know.
All we heard was, I'm going to make a motion, and that was it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was a beautiful motion. Okay. I will explain, I'll make the motion, we'll get a second, and I'll explain the basis for it. But let me make the motion first. I move that we approve the submittal of an application to DCNR for a grant to improve the path along the stream in Siebert Park. And specifically, since we need to decide these things that we discussed at the public hearing earlier, specifically a stone dust or similar material path that would be 8 feet wide, if that's allowable, considering the various things we have to comply with. That's the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay.
Okay, and Lee, you want me to explain a little?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike and Lauren can chime in as needed, but the Stormwater Authority has authorized or has as a project restoring the stream in Siebert Park. I may have said Schaefer before. That runs from the parking lot next to the pool down to the pump station and the creek. And Mike and team determined that there was a grant opportunity. I believe it was them. If we procure this grant, along with the stream restoration, which we need to do as part of our stormwater mitigation and S4 requirements, that will mess up the path from construction equipment, et cetera. So we could either just restore the path back to what it is now, which is a gravel path. It's not gravel all the way up and down. It's rutted, and it's far from ideal. We can, with this grant, make it a more accessible path that people can walk on, bike on, and so forth. We had a public hearing at 6 p.m. that only a couple of members of the public attended, but we talked about, on the one hand, the desire to maintain the sort of natural feel of that path. You know, it's really nice. You're sort of right in the middle of Camp Hill next to the park, but you're in the woods and it's next to the stream. So that's very nice. On the other hand, it's not as accessible as it could be. It's not great for riding a bike on. And so we talked about, well, we could pave it, or we could do crushed stone. We can make it 10 feet wide or 8 feet wide. There were a couple things that informed that. So having heard the discussion earlier, I think it would make sense. You know, I love the natural look and feel, but I'm willing to trade that for a little bit more accessibility and a better path, because it is a great asset for the whole community. So that's the basis for the motion, and that's the basis for council members anyway, for why I made the motion to have it crushed stone rather than asphalt, and have it 8 feet rather than 10 feet.
Quick question. So I jumped off that meeting. I had to something else quick, but if we do this crushed stone version instead of the paving, I mean, I think that's definitely a little bit of a compromise. What's the maintenance cost of that versus like what we're doing now? I mean, do we spend, I don't think we spend much money maintaining that path. Is that right? Sarah, I guess you probably don't know yet. Audrey, maybe you know. I mean, how often do they go down there and do anything to that?
I don't know if they've done anything to it in at least the last year or two, because of there was a lot of talk about doing the stormwater restoration. So I, kept kind of been put off. But I know this year, Mike was going to have the guys go down and put something down, because there wasn't going to be anything done in 2021. It wasn't going to start till 2022.
Yeah, and that one rut is like a foot deep, so that makes sense. But so if we switch this to crushed stone, maybe Mike has, I mean, is this something where every time we get a torrential downpour, it's going to like wash out 6 different sections of this path, or is that not? Will it be durable, kind of like it is now, I guess, is my question.
It'll be, the surface will be at least as durable as what you have now. There are a lot of manufactured stone products on the market that are specifically for trails and recreation. There's guidance out from Penn State and the Dirt and Gravel Road Center specifically for trail surfaces, and we would adhere to all of that. We would also install drainage where drainage is needed. If we have a concentrated flow coming down a ravine, we would give it a way to get beneath the trail in a pipe so it wouldn't wash the trail out, and those sorts of things. It wouldn't drop to zero maintenance, though. I don't want to give that impression. Most other municipalities that have gravel trails that they maintain need to go in at least seasonally with like a pickup truck load of stone and a plate tamper, and patch potholes, patch ruts, those sorts of things, usually in the spring and the fall. So I think you could expect a maintenance of about that level, which wouldn't be enormous, but it wouldn't be zero by any means.
And I just wanted to say something going back to our budget conversations from last year, but if we apply for this grant, hold on one second. If we apply for this grant and we only get half of it or something, I just want to be careful that we're not adding another project now that we need to pay for. We've completed an incredible amount of projects over the past couple of years. We still have a lot of projects coming, and I don't want to create another new project that we weren't necessarily looking for here if we don't get the full grant. So I just want to make sure I say that out loud for everybody.
And Mike,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Is that something that you can speak to, Lauren? Does DCNR tend to, in this program, award all or nothing, or is it common that they'll only fund a portion of the request?
Oh, you're muted still.
Thank you. I think I needed permission to unmute, so apologies.
Hey, Zachy.
Yeah, in terms of the request, so if you were to receive less than the full amount, DCNR, there would be an opportunity to have a conversation about how you might be able to retailer your scope slightly to be more in line with what the funding offer is as it relates to the project that you're proposing. I think in general, with considering the stream restoration, trail improvements, and kayak launch, you would be putting forth a competitive application. And I think the request is within the amount that DCNR typically will award.
Okay.
And Mike, could you share,
Yeah.
A, the amount we're asking for, and B, how the borough match would be part of the kayak launch for the public?
The amount that we had anticipated asking for was about $225,000. The program cap is at about 250. The 225 we calculated would be adequate to fund an asphalt paved trail. If we do an aggregate trail, a stone trail, that number is going to come down a good bit. I didn't calculate that number because I didn't anticipate we would go that direction, but I can say with confidence it's going to be less than 225.
Yeah.
The match requirement from the DCNR grant is 50%. So if they're going to put in, let's say 225, but we all know it's less than that. If they're going to put in 225, then we also need to put in 225. Because we're building this in theory in conjunction with the stream restoration project, we can use the dollars that the Stormwater Authority would expend for the stream restoration as that match. And that has a budget number of about 500,000. So we have well more match than DCNR requires built into a project that we're planning to undertake anyway. The kayak launch at the northern end of the trail has a price tag of about $60,000, and that was funded half by Fish and Boat Commission. We got a little under $30,000 from them. The DCNR dollars can be used to make up the other half of that boat launch project as well. So those can match one another for the boat launch.
So
And
I have
just to be clear, back to Zach's question. I mean, if we get a inadequate grant or no grant, we're free to just drop the project, right? And just restore to what we have, correct?
Yeah, Lauren, I think you can answer that, but I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, there would be, there's nothing, if you were to receive a funding award, there would still be a grant contracting process that you would go through. So if at that time it did not make sense for you to formally accept the award, you could certainly pull back. That being said, we don't encourage folks to give money back to the state when they're offering it typically. But there's usually, if we would hear or learn that there's an opportunity to be funded, but it would be at a lower amount, there could be an opportunity to have a discussion with the regional advisor and other folks at DCNR to talk about how we might be able to scale back or rescope the project to be more in line with the funding award that they're able to do. So maybe you just focus on the boat launch and do the trail improvements that you would have done otherwise, for example. But I hope that's helpful. Does that clarify it? There'd be an opportunity for a conversation. I guess that's the short answer.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to commit right now to what surface material we want to use? I thought we were just approving to spend money to approve the expense for you to write the grant.
We would because of the timeline. There's not another opportunity to make that decision between now and when the grants are due. The grants are due April 14th, which is the day of the next council meeting. So they would have to be submitted earlier in the day, and this council would meet that evening. We don't really get another crack at it.
I'm just saying, can we have that discussion over like the details of the surface that you include? Does that need to be part of the motion?
I think that it does because it so directly informs the value of the grant. And we don't have to approve the value of the grant tonight, but we need to know as we prepare the application how many dollars we're going to ask for.
Okay.
I had asked that before, Alyssa. I don't know if there's some alternative where we can approve it, with the contingency that we're going to talk about, get a little more information and decide that particular point, in a special meeting in a couple weeks. I don't know if people want to do that.
I mean, I would rather do that. I don't feel like we have enough information, with the maintenance that's required. And maybe you could provide that right now, like the stone dust runoff into the waterway. Like, are there trade-offs that or cost to having either, not necessarily financial costs, but like ecological costs, let's say, to having the stone dust if it's going to be washing down into the waterway regularly. I mean, aside from the maintenance cost that we already mentioned.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, the stone dust does have a lot of fines in it. It has a higher fine content than really any of the other aggregates that you use in roadway construction. And those do wash off easily. The material needs to be compacted and it needs to be placed at the right moisture content so that it compacts well, and that helps. But there would be fine particle runoff from the stone surface that you wouldn't have with the asphalt surface. The ecological balancing act is between that factor and the asphalt surface being an impervious surface that just creates more runoff and faster runoff. So there would be pros and cons to either. As far as the course of action for making the decision prior to April 14th, one option might be if it could be referred to a committee like the Parks and Rec Committee. And if they have a meeting both before April 14th and after Mike Oxer gets back from vacation, then maybe that conversation could continue then.
And then would you need us then, Mike, to have a special council meeting before the 14th to vote?
I think if you approved application for the grant and passage of the resolution with the details to be determined by the Parks and Rec Committee, I think that would be an adequate action that allows us to move forward. Would you agree with that, Lauren?
Yes, I think that would be sufficient to move forward.
Okay.
Do we know if that committee meets in the next month?
Well, since Erin's not here, we can pick on her and tell her she has to.
We have a Parks and Rec Committee, I'm sorry, if I'm allowed to speak.
Yes, please.
Okay, we have a Parks and Rec Committee meeting / commission meeting on April 6th.
Perfect.
So I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So then if we go that way, whichever way the committee decides, that's what we're doing. The rest of us don't have a say. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just asking, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It goes against everything we talked about, having committees not make decisions versus recommendations.
Yeah, I think if we send it to committee, the rest of council should get a chance to chime in. Whether that has to be a formal meeting and vote, I don't know.
I think you might want to decide now then, I mean, while you're all here, if you have strong feelings about the subject, regardless of what the Public Works and Rec people think, then you probably want to make that known now while council's all together. Because I don't know do you want to have another meeting between April 6th and April 14th? It just makes the whole process harder.
Well, and unfortunately, Erin couldn't attend the public hearing, so she didn't hear all of the information that we learned also.
Well, I guess my impression has been that the majority of people here are leaning toward the crushed stone surface. The outstanding question is simply about the maintenance cost. Is that the correct understanding of where everybody stands on this?
I mean, the crushed stone was literally just brought up as an option at an hour ago. So I have not had time to even I don't know where I stand on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm picturing what crushed stone, I guess I can Google it. I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, I would rather wait. And I don't think this is not an item that is necessarily needs to be voted on by all of council. Is that correct? Like what pavement? I mean, I think if all of us want to send our feedback to the Parks and Rec meeting to be considered or go there and speak, we could do that.
Yep, it is a public meeting.
It's a public meeting and we can go there and share our thoughts and listen to the conversation.
So I guess, Carl, would you like to amend your motion to remove the packed stone?
We're not approving that. I mean,
And then just make the motion to authorize them to make an application without the specifics in there.
I think I'd like to amend my motion to authorize the application with the surface to be decided by Parks and Rec committee with input from the rest of council. And yeah,
Bonnie, could you resecond that, please?
Oh, yes, second.
Thanks. Any further discussion or questions for Mike or Lauren?
Not for Mike and Lauren, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. So assuming all 7 can make the Parks and Rec committee meeting, and for argument's sake, I chose asphalt, and 4 people choose asphalt, but 2 people, the Parks and Rec, pick gravel. As long as they follow the majority of council's opinion, that'd be great. But if 7 is there and 4 of us vote one way, and the committee votes the other way, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They would have to be beholden to our majority opinion.
Well, if
The
nobody
fact
agrees,
is
do
with
we need,
this,
do
with
we need to
this
have-
motion, I'm sorry, Zach, go ahead.
no, go ahead, sir.
I'm still getting the feel for the Zoom council meeting. This motion isn't authorizing starting the project. So while Mike said it would be helpful if we could make a decision on the surface tonight, you don't have to. If we went ahead with the application with one surface and later on, we have 3 years to do the project. So this most certainly won't happen till at least 2022. And you could change your mind on what the surface will be during the course of that. And we would potentially have to send a request for an amended application to
And that makes sense,
DCNR.
in which case, Mike, then I suggest you apply with asphalt because it's more expensive and see if we
What I
get,
was just gonna say.
yeah,
Yeah,
Right,
it's
because
definitely
that's-
more expensive. And if we get underfunded, then that would give us an option as a
Right.
fallback to gravel. Or we could decide to use gravel because we simply prefer that and
Right.
and not use the full amount allotted.
which would make DCNR very excited, so that would be good.
So if we don't utilize the full grant because we choose to go with stone, that money just gets returned, right? We aren't required to stick to our original submission, is what you're saying.
We would have to get DCNR's agreement to switch the surface and continue to fund it. But I think that that's an easier switch and more likely to succeed than asking them to kick in additional funds because we upgraded from stone to asphalt.
Okay.
all right. I'm going to modify the motion. What is this, the 5th time, I think? To authorize application for the grant with asphalt surface with the understanding that more information will be provided to council, and at some point, I guess next meeting or 2, we can make that decision.
Second.
Thank you. Actually, we can turn it over to Parks and Rec because like Sarah said, we've got a couple of years before we have to decide. So-
Right, so I want to make sure, like, Carl, we're applying for the asphalt, so Parks and Rec isn't meeting in 2 weeks to make that decision. The decision will be made by whoever's on council a year from now, whenever we do it. Right,
Okay.
so we're not coming back with any more information next month, Carl.
No,
Am I correct?
right.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Okay.
Bet you thought this was gonna be easy, didn't you, Mike?
All right, if it's okay, I'm gonna call the question. Okay, all those in favor of Carl's motion, please say aye and raise your hand.
Motion number
Aye.
3. Aye.
All those opposed? All right, there you go, Mike and Lauren, thank you both.
Thank you.
Let's see, oh, we got one more, Carl. Carl, you have 2B.
Oh, okay. Then I would like to move that we approve HRG's professional services proposal to prepare this grant application for a lump sum amount of $5,400.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional questions? All right, all those in favor of using HRG to prepare the grant, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. All right. Erin may join us at any moment, but we'll start without her, and the mayor is also not here, so Chief is going to give a report on behalf of the police, and then is going to talk to us about the drop program.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I didn't know that I was going to be filling in for the mayor until about an hour or so ago. I don't even have my monthly police report with me, so I'm not going to talk about that. I think you all have that. And as always, anytime you have questions, please feel free to contact me or Mayor Simpson about that. I would give you one public safety related update of an event that took place today before I talk about the drop program. We did this previously over the last 2 years. We did some joint traffic enforcement details with the state police, who would come in and join our officers from our department on a traffic enforcement detail on the bypass, specifically on the bypass, which is by far the highest volume and highest speeds of vehicles that travel through Camp Hill. So we did that today, and in about a half a day, we stopped and cited 70 motorists for speeding. That is a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone. The minimum speed that we start enforcement at is 50. So it's 50 and up. And again, there were 70 stops and citations issued today. We appreciate the support from the state police. Of course, they are authorized to use radar. And you may have seen a couple of gentlemen sitting along the side of the road in lawn chairs with not in uniform, and that was actually the two troopers operating the radar and radio to call ahead to our cars and their state troopers who were laying in wait for, in this case, northbound traffic on the bypass. I think there are, as I recall, over 37,000 cars a day traveling that bypass through the borough of Camp Hill. And it is a source, although we don't have a tremendous amount of accidents, it is one of our higher accident streets. So we like to focus on enforcement there. So there's a brief public safety update on an event that actually took place today, coincidentally, to coincide with our council meeting.
Thank you.
Would you like me to go into B, the drop?
Yep, if you could just explain that. We've got some newer council members that may not
Yes,
have had this before.
sure. The drop, as it's called, it's actually this deferred retirement option plan. And you've had a couple of officers already do this. Was a benefit that is negotiated into the collective bargaining agreement between the borough and the police association after being reviewed by your actuary to make sure that it is actuarially sound with our pension system to do that. And it has passed that muster. Essentially, it allows an officer, and with Sergeant Cornelius, this would be the second officer, incumbent officer now to participate in this program. For pension system purposes, Sergeant Cornelius will effectively retire January 1st of this year, 2.5 months ago. His pension will start being paid out to him monthly as if he retired and left. However, he can stay under this agreement and continue to work in his normal police duties as he has been for up to a maximum of 3 years, at which time his drop program payments, his pension payments, have gone into essentially an escrow fund. And at whatever date he elects to truly leave and retire between now and 3 years from now, then he would receive that in a lump sum and go off into retirement happily and just continue to receive his monthly pension as a true retiree. So again, he would be the second officer to enter into this program. In discussing this, Sarah and I discussed it briefly with Labor Counsel Mike Miller, who agreed that this is, he's eligible to do this. This is pursuant to the law and our collective bargaining agreement. Although Mike thought it was advantageous to at least get this on the record or the minutes of this meeting. The council does not have to approve it. It's already been approved in the collective bargaining agreement, which actually a previous agreement or two ago. So it's been in the contract for one or two contracts and has been exercised before by one or more officers. So, but if you want to, if the council is amenable to simply approving it, Scott Cornelius's entry into the drop program, that would certainly satisfy our Labor Council.
Do we want to make a motion and approve this, or just know that it has been included in the contract and we've already approved it when we approved the contract?
I think we already approved it. Because we can't disapprove it, we can't say no, even if we wanted to, so it's a moot point. We'd have to ask Mr. Stennett, but it makes sense, it's a moot point.
Now, Mike Miller just wanted this in the minutes, really, so it's published somewhere. All right, then, thanks, Chief. We'll move on to 3C, and Aaron is with us. Unfortunately, Aaron, you are not on, you're on page 2 of my Zoom, so I can't see you, but I know you're here. If you want to discuss item 3C.
Hello.
There she is. Now I can see.
Hi, guys. Thanks for putting up with me tonight. Let's see. I guess I will make a motion to approve the closure of Market Street from 21st Street to 24th Street on June 5th of this year from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the Downtown Camp Hill Association Summer Soiree. And authorization for the borough to provide a certificate of insurance naming PennDOT as an additional insured for the event.
Second.
Thank you. This is exciting. Any comments?
I'll just comment that, yeah, I think we've talked about this in the past. I know I've asked about this, and I think as we continue to improve Market Street, when you go to any great town and they have any types of these events, typically the streets close down around it. So I think this is great, and hopefully we can continue to do this and get these events to be bigger and more exciting.
Luckily, it's not graduation weekend. I was worried it would be the same weekend. But that's the 12th, if they have graduation.
If they have it, hopefully they will. Okay, all those in favor of closing Market Street on June 5th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, we're good. Aaron, anything else for public safety?
Only that our next meeting is March 25th at 4:30.
Thank you. Sarah, would you like to give your report?
Yes, you have my report in your packets. Several of the topics of my report have already been discussed this evening. I would just note that we've been doing a lot of work on the streetscape program, and we're hoping to get that project underway, weather permitting, by the end of the year, which would be really exciting. We're also well underway with updating our website. I don't know, I didn't list that in my report specifically, but I can report that verbally because we just made some progress this week. And I've also got us on the list, I'll call it, for a climate action plan that would be prepared in coordination with DEP at no cost to the borough. We don't have to do it, but since I contacted them now, we're kind of in line, and then you can step out of line if you don't decide to do it, but that would be by August, with an objective of starting work on that in the fall. Cumberland County is doing a climate action plan themselves right now, and they're looking for comments on that. They're in their public participation part of their process. So we're going to post that on our website and our Facebook page, that a solicitation from the county asking people to provide input on their plan. So we have some time to consider whether we want to do our own plan, but that is something that council had indicated was a priority for discussion, and we can keep discussing that, but we're in line.
Great, thank you. All right, Zach, finance.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to pay checks for February 2021 in the amount of $907,415.11.
Second.
Thank you. Questions for Zach? Okay, all those in favor of payment of checks for February 2021, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Before we get to item 5B, I do have a procedural question for Sarah, or maybe Lee. We're not quite ready to discuss the pension plan yet. We have not heard back from our labor attorney. So I think we need to table this, but I don't know whether I need to make the motion and then table the motion or just table it now.
I think you just don't take any action at all. You don't, this was an item that was on the agenda, and staff is not prepared to make a recommendation on it tonight. So you can just choose to not take action until, I mean, there's no vote required, I don't think, unless Lee disagrees.
Yeah, that's fine. We have some procedural hurdles to clear.
Yeah, okay, we're just not quite, we'll have that in probably April.
Does it matter that we voted last month to advertise it? Like, does the advertisement last going forward, or does it only like a 30-day thing?
It's not going to be a problem to extend it. No.
Okay. All right, so that makes your report real short, Zach.
Well, I'm going to add one since you took that away from me. This is just a reminder. So we talked about this before, and I still think this is an interesting idea, but we had a company come, I think they're called Turnkey Revenue, that came back in probably January now to present ways that they can help generate additional tax revenue by finding people that have kind of fallen through the cracks on the EIT rolls. We heard the presentation in finance. We were waiting for Chris Miller to come back, because a lot of how effective can this product be is determined by what kind of records we have, and how we kind of keep track of people in the borough. So I just want to remind everybody that we're going to bring that back hopefully soon to the full board to kind of hear the same version of the presentation, and then at some point, if people think it makes sense, we can move forward with it. I think that if we decide it makes sense, the sooner the better, because I think something like this will probably take, multiple months to set up and to kind of get moving. And if we want it to be available for, when we're working through the budget this year, that, it'd be good to kind of get moving now. So I bring that one back up because it did sound, there's not a lot of ways to generate tax revenue, without the obvious. So it sounded like a pretty neat idea. And that,
Zach, can I ask you a quick question about it?
Sure.
So I just wanted to make sure how it affects people this year who are working from home, not in the office. So the residents here, but their work address might be in Harrisburg and vice versa. Are they addressing the same issue? Because that's going to affect a lot of tax bases, obviously not just ours, but around the country, or they're just going to be ignored for COVID for a year.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, that's kind of what their point is, in the old days, everyone made sure you changed your address because your paychecks got mailed to your house. Nowadays, everyone just gets direct deposit. So a lot of times people forget to kind of talk to their HR people and update all these types of things. And they have some type of algorithm that helps to flush out people that are not on the tax rolls. That's like the 2-sentence version of it. But we need them to answer more questions about it.
And this is for earned income tax, Zach?
Correct.
Okay. Because earned income tax is paid to where you live. So in answer to Richard's question, that it doesn't matter where they're working, whether in their house or at their normal workplace. They pay earned income tax based on their place of residence.
Well, then maybe I'm not remembering exactly what it was they were saying, but they were claiming that they work for lots of boroughs our size and that their, minimum finding was, 20% of the current EIT role. It sounded, too good to be true. But that's why I think we all need to hear more about it.
We'll bring them in.
Yep.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Public Works, Bonnie.
Okay, I just wanted to update you on something that's going to be coming forward probably at next month's meeting. We had a public works meeting and we were talking about the pump station at the pool. And we're finding out that since the pool pump station, that's the stone building that's right at the edge of the parking lot, was built in the 1940s. And HRG had done some studies evaluating what the gallons per minute flow is that pump station can handle. And right now that pump station has 2 pumps. Each pump currently can handle 200 to 400 gallons per minute. The monitoring that they have done has indicated that at times the gallons per minute that flows through that pump station exceeds 500 minutes per gallon.
Yeah.
Or gallons per minute, sorry. And the problem with that is we've had issues with those pumps. They're really old. In order for that pump station to be able to manage that high flow, both of those pumps have to be in working order. And obviously, if they're both in working order, each can handle 400 gallons per minute. Right now, Mike Oxer is having trouble finding parts for those pumps because they are so old. And some of the parts that have been used have been retrofitted from other pumps that we have, replaced in other pump stations in the borough. So it's kind of important that we improve that pump station so that we can manage that volume of gallons per minute at 5 to 600 gallons per minute. And DEP requires that each pump must be able to handle that volume. So if we kept using the pumps that we have right now, and one of them's down, we're going to have a problem because that pump station isn't going to be able to manage the sewage because it can only handle up to 400, one pump by itself. So we will be coming to you next month, I'm thinking, with a proposal for your review to discuss improvements and potential replacement of the pump station there at the pool. Any questions on that? Just wanted to give you a heads up. Mike is going to talk about a proposal he has on the list, for which I'll provide a motion for, regarding I&I throughout the borough. They've done a really good job of evaluating areas in the borough where there might be infiltration and inflow leaking into the sewer system, either through the ground or from the surface, from different areas of the borough. So one of the proposals is to do a little bit more monitoring for those situations. And the other thing I just wanted to give you a heads up on, this was from Mike Oxer. I don't know if you've paid attention, but there are bushes in between the parking area that's beside the firehouse and the parking area that's across from Borough Hall. And Mike said those bushes they have just gotten really old. Some are dying, they're a maintenance issue. So expect to see, probably this spring, Public Works is going to dig up all of those bushes that's in between the parking lot and the sidewalk, and they're going to replace them with 4-foot high, or I guess they'll eventually grow 4-foot high native grasses. So that's just something for you to be on the lookout for. Okay. All right, so I'll get to the motions. So the first motion is, I'd like to make a motion for approval of application for payment number 7 in the amount of $11,757.08 to Pipe Services Corporation for pre-lining inspection of the 2020 sewer improvements project area as recommended by HRG. And I'll turn that over to Mike.
I need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Mike.
Pipe Services Corporation is the contractor that we have on an open-end contract that was bid in late 2019 to provide pipe inspection services as needed for the various storm and sanitary projects we have around the borough. This one in particular was to inspect the areas that were going to be fixed, lined, or replaced with the current sewer project. They did one pass with the camera before we put the job out to bid. And then right before the lining contractor comes through to fix everything, they do another pass with the camera to make sure that nothing's changed. Because the last thing we want to do is line a pipe that has broken or split or fallen apart in some way when another repair would have been appropriate. So this was for that second pass of the camera inspection right before the lining occurred.
Okay, any questions for Mike? All right, all those in favor of the application for payment number 7 in the amount of $11,757.08, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Second motion, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the retainer agreement with HRG and their sub-consultant for a fixed fee lump sum of $85,000 to perform flow assessment services for 2 drainage basins as recommended by HRG per the April 2020 inflow and infiltration study of the sanitary sewer collection and conveyance system.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, this one, maybe a picture's worth 1,000 words. So this is a map of the sanitary sewer basins within Camp Hill Borough. And in last year's flow monitoring study, which is really the heart of the I&I program, we with a vendor, installed flow monitors that would look at what kind of flows we had in each one of these color-coded areas and how those flows changed based on time of day and based on rainfall. And by collecting and then crunching those numbers, we can see which areas we suspect have the highest I&I and then use those to hone in on sewer improvements projects. So where we could get the most bang for the buck out of lining or replacement projects in terms of getting I&I out of the system. That was the work that was done last year for flow monitoring. That study concluded that the 2 shapes you see here in kind of the light tan and then the greener tan, these 2 drainage basins, we call them 791 and 837 because those are the manholes on the downstream end, number 791 and 837. These make up about half the borough. And these, in that initial study, exhibited a high level of inflow and infiltration. Now, if we were to go and try and line all of the pipes in these very large basins, that's going to be a very expensive project just because of the size of them. So we want to take the next step now of breaking these down into sub-basins and redoing a monitoring in those basins with a higher degree of detail so that we can better pinpoint which areas are really the biggest problem and then look at those for the 2022 lining and rehabilitation project. The proposal that you have for $85,000, about 60 of that is the flow monitoring vendor. We collected prices from 2 different vendors and kind of competed them against one another and got to the lowest price that we could there. And then there's about 25 of HRG's services to do the analysis and generate a report and recommendations based on the data that the vendor would give us.
And right, so Mike, just for edification's sake, with the I&I, we're concerned about stormwater getting to the sewer pipes, and we ship it to Hamden, and they end up recycling, cleaning clean water. And so how do we do cutting out the I&I getting into the sewer system? And also on the flip side, how do we manage the stormwater so it doesn't get in the system? And unfortunately, even if we reduce the I&I, it won't affect our rates to Hamden at this point.
Correct, because the way that our agreement with Hamden is currently structured, we don't get billed per gallon. We have sort of a flat rate, and then we get billed if there's an overage. So a lot of the I&I is to prevent an overage, to make sure that we don't get, when a lot of folks think about stormwater, they think about, inlets in the street or gutters and downspouts and those sorts of things. And cross connections that absolutely contribute to I&I. But what a lot of folks don't think about is groundwater. So if we have pipes and there are miles and miles of terracotta clay pipes in Camp Hill's sewer system, if they have joints that leak or they have cracks or those sorts of things under the ground, and when it rains and the groundwater comes up, that can be a big source of I&I as well. So the purpose of this is to pinpoint where geographically a disproportionately large amount of that is occurring, so that then we can target that for our rehabilitation efforts.
And on the flip side of that, if we have the terracotta in the holes of stormwater getting, the flip side is we have holes in terracotta and worry about sewage going out the pipes. It's not as big an issue, but.
Yeah, potentially, because of the pressures and those sorts of things, it tends to flow in more so than it flows out. But by lining the pipes, you solve both problems.
And just a real quick comment on the kind of the dollars of all this, because these things get expensive quick. So I think in our budget for 2021, we had, I want to say $350,000 for collection system improvements, or right around that. So first, the 80,000 that we're talking about here, that's going to come out of that budget line item, right?
There's also another line item in the sewer budget. There was $85,000 for engineering, and I'm not sure when previous staff set up the budget, which one of those line items, whether it was a portion of the 300 or it was the 85 line item, was intended for the flow monitoring. But we did have conversations with the previous staff about the importance of building in that kind of a budget number so we can continue with the I&I program year by year. So I guess the short answer is it's a budgeted expense. I'm just not sure which line item it comes out of.
Okay. And then, so we're trying to pinpoint, the best places to use what we continuously budget for the collection system improvements, because, there's no way that we can fix all the I&I in the borough. That, as Mike said, that'll cost millions of dollars, and really we're not going to get any benefit in the rate from it. So I think the way that's set up now is Hampton is requiring us to invest a certain amount of I&I repair each year. And so we're basically doing that through that budgeted line item and through this study. Does that sound right, Mike?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks.
So Zach, because I wasn't familiar with that, are they telling us we need to spend $350,000 a year, or was that a number that we came up with? I'm just curious.
Lee looks like he wants to chime in.
Yeah, I think that's the Hampton's number.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. We're still trying to have conversations with Hampton about some disagreements under that agreement and haven't been successful in securing a meeting.
Any other questions for Mike?
Not a question. I want to make the comment, though. I think what we're doing here makes sense. I think it's similar to what we're doing with stormwater, rather than just reacting to the problems as they occur, to go out and see where the problems exist and where we can have the most impact in preventing future problems. So I think it's the right approach.
Okay, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of approval of the retainer agreement with HRG and their subconsultant to perform the flow assessment services, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you. Next, Bonnie.
Okay, item number 3. I'd like to make a motion for approval of a contractor's application for payment number 1 for 2020 sewer rehabilitation project to Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated in the amount of $72,177.38 as recommended by HRG.
Second.
Thank you.
This one is a progress payment for the current sewer improvements project that came out of the study and the inspection from last year informed this year's project. The contractor is now performing that project. They're moving through it pretty quickly, and this is their application for payment for the month of February.
Any other questions comments for Mike? Okay. All those in favor of payment number 1 for the 2020 sewer rehabilitation project, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Next, Bonnie.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for approval of change order number 1 for 2020 sewer rehabilitation project to change the contract with Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated to allow a time extension of 79 days with substantial completion by May 9th, 2021, and to increase the amount of the contract by $21,027.75 for a total contract price of $342,604.75 to perform permanent paving restoration at 10 locations.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right.
I'm glad to report this is the last one on the list of large numbers for the sewer fund this month. This is also for the current sewer project. The contract that we issued had the contractor repairing all of the excavation work they needed to do with temporary pavement because of the time of year that we're in, and because we can repair that pavement less expensively if we do it as part of a larger paving project in the summertime. So that's what we've done in the past, is we've had contractors just do a temporary repair, and then when we do the annual paving contract, we would have that contractor do the permanent pavement repair. Because of the economies of scale, they can do it cheaper when they're already paving large swaths of roadway. The decision was made at budget time not to do a paving project in 2021. And so we need to find some way to complete that permanent pavement repair without a summer paving contract. So we requested pricing from the current contractor for them to go and install a permanent pavement repair instead of just a temporary one. And the cost differential is the $21,000 number that Bonnie mentioned. And again, keeping in mind that it's in 10 different locations. It's not that they're spending all that money in one spot. There are 10 places that they have to dig and that they have to patch. And so that's the price tag that they've given us. We checked that against some other unit costs that we have from other contracts that would be high if it was part of a large paving contract, but it's about right. It's about competitive with the industry for a small number of repairs, which is what this is. So we recommend in favor of their change order application.
Okay.
And this is supposed to come out of the sewer fund or where did we, Sarah, maybe Sarah can answer that. I know there was like some discussion about where we were paying for this from.
This is associated with the sewer project. So even though it is paving, it's paving with the sewer project. So it's best, I think we agreed to take it from the sewer fund.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of change order number 1 for the 2020 sewer rehabilitation project for the paving, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Anything else, Bonnie?
That's it. Thank
Can I just interrupt for a second while we're on engineer? I don't know if we actually authorized HRG to prepare the application at the sum that they offered. Did you do that? As part of the motion to proceed with the application?
For the trail
50
project?
We did.
The 5,400?
Yeah, there
Mhm.
was a
Okay.
second motion that Carl proposed and was approved for that.
All right. There were multiple motions, so I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. Sorry.
No, thanks for keeping us straight. Okay, Carl, community and business relations.
Okay, this will be pretty quick. We have a committee meeting tomorrow at 5:30. It'll be about the streetscape. As Sarah mentioned earlier, we're back on, I think, a faster track. You know, we slowed down last year for a couple of reasons. We also had some big decisions to make, but we're past all that. I'm very glad Sarah is here to help move things along. So, you know, it's a matter of getting things all squared away to go to PennDOT for the HOP, to work with the business community on the elements that are outside of the right of way, but that are very important for this project. So that's what we'll be talking about. And, you know, Sue Para mentioned the work that DCHA is doing. It's really nice to see that organization coming together, taking on the events, and continuing to make Market Street vibrant and a great asset to the community. That's it for me.
Okay, thanks. All right, Aaron, Parks and Rec.
Hi again. I just want to go over a few things from the monthly report that Audrey has been working very hard on, and the entire staff. So items of note coming up are lots of events in Camp Hill, which is very exciting to hear. On March 20th, we're having the Bunny Extravaganza again, and this year it's going to be held outdoors. Under different tents for different activities, and a parent or guardian is required to attend with their child, and registration is required. And you can do that online. The cost is $11. It's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and it's for ages 3 to 9. We will be holding it in conjunction with the Downtown Business Association Spring Fling. So it should be a really great day in Camp Hill regardless. So go online to our recreation department, register your kids. We already have a nice chunk of kids registered. So when it is full, registration will be closed. Community Shred Day is April 17th from 8 to 12. And that is in the borough parking lot through our Penn Waste contract. There is a list of what items are acceptable and not acceptable on our website. I'm really excited to announce that we're going to have an art exhibit in Willow Park this spring. In the month of May, the Perry County Council of Arts has reached out to Camp Hill Borough about engaging in a COVID-friendly safe art display. I'm really excited about it. It'll go up and down Willow Park for walkers, joggers, etc. And that will be installed on April 30th and down June 1st. So we're going to kick off spring. Our Kite Festival will not be held this year. So that is my point of bad news. Memorial Day is going to be different. We will not hold a parade again. However, on May 31st at 9:30 a.m. in the cemetery, we will have a Memorial Day ceremony in cooperation with the Camp Hill Legion Post 43. We're really excited about that. It's COVID friendly. We encourage masks, and you can bring your own chair, though we will have some set up and spacing within the cemetery for the ceremony. Also, our box lunch reviews are on again. We did hold them last year, and we will hold them again this year, starting June 11th, every other Friday in Willow Park. Running all the way through August 20th. So plan on that starting June 11th. Those are my little announcements. Now, I have a few discussions. So on the
Hey, Aaron,
agenda,
can I ask
Yeah.
a quick question? So the Memorial Day Parade, that's definitely off, you said?
correct.
I mean, I think I know the answer to this question, but once this is all over, we're definitely bringing that back, right, Audrey?
100%.
Yeah, okay. Just thought I'd double check.
I think we just needed another year, right? For a big old to do. But I am excited about the ceremony in the park at 9:30 on May 31st. I hope more people attend than typical, and it'll be really nice. Any other questions about those announcements? So B on my agenda is to talk about pool membership structure for this year. Last year, if you recall, we did have quite a discussion about it. And what we settled on is that we opened our pool because we have to open it no matter what. And we only sold memberships to Camp Hill Borough residents. We did allow residents to also come for day passes and guests. I believe there was one day, and Audrey can chime in on details with me, where we reached near capacity or capacity, which at that time was 250 people. And I believe that was at 50%. And that was one day. Every other day, it was almost, I mean, there were a lot of ghost land days. So we did sell a bit, a nice chunk of memberships to borough residents. A lot of them didn't use them. So this year I propose that we open up our memberships to all parties, borough or non-borough, as we have in the past. So we do, I believe it's a 5 municipality kind of range. And historically we have about, I think the number is about 75% of purchases are borough residents. And then there's about a quarter that are packages purchased from outside the borough. And a lot of those people are connected or alumni or grandparents or family of people within the community. And I think it'll be really well used. We will still have procedure in place as we did last year, which was really nicely done with the staff and management at the pool. And just depending on the numbers when we do open the pool. So if we're at 50% or 75% capacity, we would adjust accordingly. But the next commission, Parks and Rec Commission meeting, we will have this discussion as well to bring to council in April for voting. But I wanted to talk about it and see if there's any thoughts on opening up our membership to anyone in the 5 municipality range that we have in the past.
Aaron, have you considered waivers, signing waivers? Everyone signing a waiver?
And what would the waiver be?
You could just use the one we did last year.
I don't think we have. Did we have waivers last year? We did. I'm sorry. I didn't. Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. Everyone signed a waiver and we kept them at the pool all season.
Okay, so we'll do that again. Thank you. Okay.
And my question is, Audrey, so in the past, like 4 or 5 years ago, if we had outside members, we didn't sell them open up to all the municipalities. We opened up to caregivers, grandparents, and so forth. We didn't have an open-ended system for anyone in the 5 borough area. And then my other question is, if we decide to open it up, and let's say it's 50% capacity or 75% capacity, will Parks and Rec limit the outside service to 20%? Because what happens if we have 50% capacity, is 250 people, and 200 people from outside of municipalities are the first ones to get on to order memberships?
Our memberships for the last number of years have been sold, except for last year, were sold to residents and by the municipalities, which include Wormleysburg, Lower Allen, East Pennsboro, Hampden Township, and Lemoyne. Now last year, like Erin mentioned, we had one day where we hit 250, but there was never a line outside. There's people coming and going constantly. And there were many, many, many days where we were like, where's everybody at? There, I mean, we had sold memberships and there just weren't people there. So that's why we had talked about having it open up to residents and the non-residents that we've had, because we've had a lot of inquiries from people right outside the borough asking about, especially the ones who don't have a pool in their own community. But then also offer it up to let residents come as a daily membership, as a daily pass, not have non-residents, just open it up to just residents being able to come for a daily pass, because there are some families that don't have access to funds to have a membership, but their child may want to come 5 or 6 times or just come once when their parents have the day off. So that's what I was, thinking that if you were open to that, I would like to have happen this year.
I'm not saying oppose or anything. I was just curious if I don't think people are going to be nervous this year. There's a lot more people out and about. The fear factor is not there this year like it was last year. And I hope as more people get vaccinated, things open up even more. I don't necessarily think it'll be difficult again to sell the memberships. I was just wondering if more people go, if we capacity 250 people, is Parks and Rec considering limiting the outside number of memberships to X%? Are they considering limit to 20%? I'd hate to see you get 250 people, 250 memberships, and half might be non-residents, and there's borough residents on a waiting list.
Richard, I would say the quick answer to that is there's no way to withhold non-residents before residents.
I think,
to enter
Richard,
the
I think
pool.
if I could just jump in, everyone who wants the pass could get it. The 250 is who's let in on a particular day. So
Yes.
Right.
So there's no way to limit who is entering as long as they are members.
Aaron and Alyssa, didn't we talk about limiting the number of memberships that we sell to non-residents?
That's what I was gonna ask Bonnie, like,
Yeah, that was my point.
do we let Campbell residents have kind of, I don't know if we can sell unlimited or if we can only sell a couple hundred, but do we let Campbell residents have first dibs at the memberships, and then if there's.
I don't think there's a capacity on the number of packages that we sell. It's the people there per day. So there isn't a limit to the number of memberships we would sell on any given year or this year. It's about the people who enter at the same time. So, from 12 to 2, there could be 200 people, but from 1 to 3, there could be 100. So
You're going to do the time reservations again like we did last year?
no, we
We
didn't.
didn't have that.
Okay.
I'm just saying at coming and going from the pool, that affects the numbers all day long. So at one point on one day, we were near capacity last summer once. So throughout that day, it was less and more. There's no way to limit or to decide who comes and goes during a day as long as they're members. And I'm not sure if Richard was saying that or if you were saying how many are we selling. We're open to sell as many as we can and try to offset our costs here.
Yeah, I mean, it actually financially, it would help us because last year we sold so many fewer memberships. We lost money on the pool. If we can sell a few more, that won't hurt.
Well, the one thing I would just be careful of is, this is the pool is paid for by the Campbell taxpayer. So if we end up selling 100 memberships to borough residents and 300 to outside people, we're kind of like the borough taxpayers, what funds this pool. So I don't know. I mean,
we always allow it to be open. This is nothing new, allowing it to be open to people from the 5 municipalities that surround us.
I don't think I didn't realize that actually.
It's a different rate. It's a higher rate than the Camp Hill membership rate for residents.
It's double.
Yeah.
I still feel like we had
Bonnie, you may be correct that we talked about numbers and whatnot. This is a discussion that we're just bringing. So
okay.
That's still, options are still on the table. I just don't see a need to limit at this point because of last year. and the results from last year's pool memberships.
But
On a side note-
last year was obviously an anomaly. I think the pool, from an operations standpoint, has actually been break even, like the prior 3 years based on membership sales. Does that sound right, Audrey?
Right.
So typically we
And
would
what are we
sell
doing with
enough
the snack
memberships.
shack? I assume the snack shack is closed for the year. Are you guys making a recommendation there?
I haven't talked to Erin, Alyssa, or Bonnie about that, but I have spoken to Chris about that, and we're discussing ways to have it open, but not open to full capacity, but have it open partially.
Yeah, so that's I guess a big revenue loss, right? If that's closed.
It typically brings in around $30,000 in a season, but then you have your, supplies and your salaries you have to pay. So
Right. Well, anyway, my point is when you're thinking about this or when we talk about this next month, I mean, I'm open to all this, but I think last year, hopefully everybody's back out doing things more so than we were last year. In previous years, the operations have been, I think, run at, I'll call it a break even. That might not be perfectly right, but something close to where the revenue offset the operating expenses every year based on sales.
Erin, when's your Parks and Rec committee meeting?
Our committee meeting is going to be combined with the next commission meeting, which is on April 6th.
Okay, so we can.
Yeah. And we can discuss limiting sales to outside memberships at that time. So if that's something the council wants us to discuss.
Okay.
just one more thing about that is, and I think Erin touched on it as well, that there were memberships that were sold that were never used last summer and the year before. And I mean, I have cards sitting in my office from the last 4 years. That's probably about 7 inches thick. So there are people who buy memberships and never use their memberships. So to limit the amount of memberships to non-residents versus residents, if people are buying them and not using them, I feel, there's people out there that would use them.
Okay. Thanks. All right, well, we will continue to chew on this and look forward to your report in April.
On the next item on under Parks and Rec, it's discussing summer programs. Well, again, I feel like we're full of goodish news, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we are looking forward to summer camps in 2021 at a potential limited capacity. We're working out details. We're going to have a big discussion in April. But the Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society has really laid out a comprehensive plan for almost anything you could think of, whether it's a basketball camp or a summer day camp or a swim team and that sort of thing. So I know Audrey was just in a conference this week, and I think it's also next week. So I'm sure they're talking a lot about these measures as well, especially working with the school district and their sports teams and their policies that they've had in place this year for COVID and social distancing and all that stuff. I think we're going to be able to make some things work out, and that would all open up for registration towards the end of April. So nothing is available for registration right now, nor will it be until council approves and moves forward in our April meeting. But I'm kind of excited. So hopefully we can get our kids out and with someone else for a little bit, but it'll be fun. Audrey, did you want to add anything to that?
No, just that we are working it out. We are trying to get our plan ready.
That's great news. It's so much better than what we were this time last year.
And that's including theater camp as well. So I just want everyone to know, like, we're talking sports and theater and summer. So we'll see. We're going to do the best we can.
And science camp.
And science, yeah. So the last item on my agenda is to consider a request from the school district to use the athletic training room in our field house in Siebert Park. As you all know, we vote every month to either, well, to keep the building, the borough buildings closed or to open them back up because of COVID-19. In our fields meeting in the past 2 weeks with all the athletic directors and coaches from the borough, the school district asked if they could have access to the training room, which is located in Siebert, and it's between the two locker rooms. So there's 3 different entrances, but you can access the locker rooms through the training room. Because it is a borough facility, it is consumed under the closed, guidelines. So we're asking if we can make a special instance for this so that the teams who use the field have the capability of their trainers and to properly manage injuries or private moments. And they would be they have a plan for disinfecting and usage and cleaning before they lock up for the night. Also, they would not be using the locker rooms. Those would still remain closed as they did last year. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
As long as and I guess we probably need a memorandum of understanding, maybe Sarah or something, but just so that it is being cleaned and the school realizes that they are responsible for cleaning it and locking it up when they're not using it and all that stuff.
They have already provided us with their cleaning schedule, and they would be confirming that, I guess, weekly, Audrey, that they would confirm that they had cleaned as they promised that they would.
Okay, good.
So we were satisfied with that.
Good.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to be a good neighbor.
Yeah, cool.
And it looks like this is actually part of the motion to keep with the borough building during personnel. Like, if everyone agrees with it, we can vote on it there.
Yeah, we'll include it when you do your part.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, Erin.
Thank you. I do have one other thing to add under Parks and Rec that I missed on my notes. Because I just think it's so nice. Every year, in the past several years, we've received a donation. And this year we received the same donation in the amount of $1,164 from the Foundation for Enhancing Communities on behalf of Harry and Nancy Priest for the Siebert Park Fund. And those monies are allocated to Siebert Park. We've put in scenic benches and adult swings and whatnot in the past. So I'm excited to put that to good use again this year. And I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out.
Thanks for bringing that up. I think we have to accept that in the form of a motion.
Can I make a motion to accept the donation of $1,164 from the Foundation for Enhancing Communities on behalf of Harry and Nancy Priest for the Siebert Park Fund?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of accepting that very generous donation, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, great. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, planning and zoning, Richard.
Ooh, wow. First and foremost, I want to welcome back Mr. Miller to the staff. He's not here this evening, but I'm glad to see he is back in the office this week. Item B is to set date and advertise for hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance and the zoning map. That's what we agreed to send out to the 2 planning commissions last month. And the date suggested is April 14th at 6 p.m. That's just before April council meeting. I want to make sure with Mr. Stennett that's a great acceptable date.
Correct.
That's going to be a long
So I don't know
meeting.
if we had
Do you think we can do it all in an hour?
I'll ask Mr. Stennett that question. I mean, we already looked at it, I assume. I don't know how many comments I'll have. The Camp Hill Planning Commission meets next Tuesday evening. But we don't have the county meeting, the county comments back yet either. We can start earlier.
Do we want to do, I mean, we could do 5, and then if it goes earlier, we can stop it, or 5:30.
We could pick the next day if we wanted to, the day before. It's just if we want to do a separate date or start earlier, like Mr. Stanton said.
I just know it's a huge undertaking. I don't know. What does everybody think?
Maybe on a separate day, maybe the day before, since the day after is tax day.
Well, and quite honestly, I think our April meeting is going to be pretty long, our council meeting, because we've got a lot of discussion coming up in that one. So it might be better to do it on the 13th.
I want to make sure that, again, I know it sounds silly, how much time we have to need to advertise the meeting. But that still falls within the requirement.
Well, that's a least in it question.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can still get it into the paper in time for the day before.
So if I hear this correctly, we're shooting for April 13th at 6 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. All
Lee,
right.
do they actually need to vote on that, or were you going to make a motion to advertise it and set the date? Do they need a motion?
They can do a motion to advertise, to authorize me to advertise.
Thank you. So for a motion, I'd like to request Mr. Stan to advertise the meeting for the amendments to zoning ordinance and zoning map for April 13th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, April 13th. We'll see you then.
All right, item B, just climate action plan update. Sarah had actually gone through a lot of it. We're excited to try and get on the state program. The way it works is if we get accepted, they'll pair with a student in the fall. They'll do an inventory of our issues and then come back with that. And then we'll look to have a group of residents with a planning overall committee and break up individual groups and come up with a plan. It's a process that'll take an entire year to work through. But if we debated whether we should join an organization started sooner, but the membership fee was like $600. If we get in the program for the state, it's free. But I'm excited for the plan. And I would throw it out to Miss Alyssa or Bonnie if they have any other comments you want to make about the plan and what we're doing. But I just want to throw it out there as an update for everybody. It'll be on every month's agenda as an update.
Sounds good.
It sounded, just to go back to the manager's report, Sarah, it sounded, when you were saying we're on a list, is that a list to be part of the next cohort?
That's correct. That would start in August. We have to basically decide by June whether we definitely want to move
Okay.
forward with it, but we would then move forward, yes, in the next cohort in August.
Okay.
Well, we would need to make a motion, because I'd like to actually decide if we could, if everyone feels comfortable today, so we could make sure we get on the list. I don't want to approve it in June and be further down the queue. Do we need a motion to approve it? I would assume.
You can do it now if you're ready to go ahead now. I don't know that you can't, but I don't think you have to yet. If people
Okay,
need
how
more
about-
information.
Right, why don't we put on for April's agenda to vote to go forward? Any questions, just reach out to Sarah and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right, item C, zoning ad hoc committee update. Just where we're at, we just finished specific uses. We hope we have a final draft that consultants work on to get back to the committee to work through that. Next item action is an overlay district downtown along with the demolition ordinance. And again, the planning commission for the borough meets next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock and to get their comments on the map and zoning changes. And I don't remember when the county one meets. We're looking forward to moving forward. We started work on short-term rentals and we got some feedback from solicitor and the consultant on sign ordinances. So we're going to keep moving forward with that, but nothing to act on tonight. And that's your report.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, Alyssa, personnel.
Okay, I just have a few items on the agenda tonight. I'd like to begin by making a motion to designate Sarah Gibson, our new borough manager, as the borough secretary.
Second.
Thank you.
And this was a position that was previously held by our last borough manager, and Frank, I believe, was the interim secretary.
And we also learned that it has to be a staff member, not a council member.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of designating Sarah Gibson as borough secretary, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, and then the next item is I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2021-1, appointing borough manager Sarah Gibson as the right to know officer for the borough of Camp Hill.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I don't think we need to discuss. We're very familiar with this, and we will definitely update the website with Sarah's name. So all those in favor of appointing Sarah as right to know law officer, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations, Sarah. You're really in it now.
Every meeting you get more and more designations. It's great.
I think we're done, right? We're done putting things on you, putting more
Are
time.
you?
Well, the Stormwater Authority just appointed her a couple things the other day.
Yes,
too.
I'm
Oh,
secretary of the Stormwater Authority
Yep.
too.
Oh, fancy.
It's all right.
Okay, and then the last item on under Personnel Committee is to discuss and vote on the staff's recommendation of continued closure of borough offices and indoor facilities to the general public as a precaution against COVID until April 14th, with the exception of the school district's use of the athletic training room as outlined in the memorandum of understanding that exists about the cleaning protocol and so on, as Sarah mentioned. So this is something that since we made the decision to not be open for people to just walk in because of cleaning and COVID and health precautions to keep everyone safe, we just said we would discuss it at each month's council meeting and make the decision on a month-by-month basis. And so the staff is recommending to keep that continued. Any questions, comments?
The only question I was back about the training room. Is it okay if I ask that question now? For the track season and other spring sports teams, are they using the porta potties or are they using the restrooms at the field house? Anyone have any idea?
The porta potties, right?
I assume. I
That's
just
correct.
wanted to make sure because they can't get in the locker room. So how they can use it?
We're told that using the porta potties is more healthy from a cleaning perspective than opening the regular bathrooms and not guaranteeing that they are cleaned hourly or daily, or so somehow the porta potties are safer.
Well, it's one at a time, so there's that.
I did have one comment about the topic of this being open to the general public. As we were wondering if we could, under supervision, have some small classes in, is it Prosser Hall?
Yeah.
So to me, that wouldn't necessarily be the general public. It would be open under our supervision. I don't know that if you have any feelings on that, that if the whole building's closed, the whole building is closed, but we would want to know that. If not, I might consider, Audrey and I would recommend allowing under her supervision and cleaning some small groups as allowed by capacity in that space, even though the rest of the office would be closed.
Is this specifically for like camps and things like that, Audrey and Sarah? Is that what you're getting at?
It would be for, not camps right now, it would be for the small programs that we have, like a dance class where they would come in the side gate, garden entrance. Like I did before we were closed down. our offices were closed, they would come in that way. I took their temperatures. They kept their masks on and they got into their 6-foot area for their dance class. Then after their class, they just exited out the side door. I wiped down everything. I mopped the floor and I made sure everything was clean before I left. So it's very supervised.
How many class do you have signed up now between now and the April council meeting?
Well, this class was supposed to start in January. It would be, I have an art class, dance class. And again, I keep pushing the dates back because of the voting every month. But the dance class, these ladies, they're very anxious to have their class. There's 6 of them, the ladies. And so 6 people in the community room that holds 200 people, they're very socially distant.
Yeah, and if they can come in and out of the side door, they never come in they would never be where staff would be or in the office or anything like that.
Yeah, Audrey, if you and Sarah are comfortable with it, I think it sounds okay. Me personally.
Yeah, and I would say to add to that, as long, Chris being our COVID kind of expert, as if he approves of that as well.
He did approve of my safety plan to how I run it, so.
He did, you said. And people are allowed to come in the office for appointments with you, right? Like if, like it's not totally closed, it's just by appointment, et cetera.
Correct. It just cuts down on the traffic, the foot traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I need to amend that? I don't think I made an emotion yet, but when I make a motion.
Yeah, you didn't make a motion. So if you would repeat it and then add with the exception of, very small classes.
Supervised class, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any more discussion before I go ahead and make the motion? Okay. All right, so I would move then to continue with the closure of borough offices and indoor facilities to the general public as a precaution against COVID until April 14th, with the exception of the school district's use of the athletic training room and supervised authorized allowances for small classes or meetings with staff by appointment.
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of Alyssa's motion, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you've made 6 ladies happy.
And that's all I have for Personnel Committee.
Okay. Richard, is there anything from the Borough School District?
No, the new superintendent doesn't start till I think April 8th, so I assume sometime we'll be meeting afterwards, after that.
Okay. All right. Comments from council? I'll just go around. Bonnie?
Comment.
Okay. Richard?
I just want to ask if I can add something to Julie and Sarah's responsibility. So going back and forth between all these, trying to do the Zoom meetings and the agendas and the paperwork, can we go back to having Dropbox? I've been sitting there trying to go back to the paperwork came out Friday to yesterday's agenda. It's a little challenging. So prior to the last 6 months, the agendas, paperwork, reports were all Dropbox, so I can flip back and forth and see them all. And I can review month after month. I go back and look last month's meetings. It's real simple for me. Like I didn't want to print up all 91 pages of this month's report to have in front of me.
So you were using, instead of having the packet emailed as one document, the documents were being placed in Dropbox?
Well, Zach likes to
Or
have
do
it
you
written
want a
up, send it to
paper?
him.
You don't want a paper packet, do you?
Zach
I think
likes
I
to
was
print
the
up his
only
packet.
one who, I liked
You
the
and Pete.
PDF packet, and I think that somehow that got transferred over to the main point of how we did that, so I apologize.
I like the PDF packet too.
I think that that Richard just wants it. You just want it in the Dropbox, so
In the
it's not
Dropbox.
as an attachment to an email.
I think we
Yep.
can probably do both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and that's how it was best, to make it easy for
Oh.
everybody. That's it.
Okay.
We aim to please.
Thank you.
All right, Alyssa.
don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Carl? Okay,
Nothing for me. Thanks.
okay. Aaron?
Just once again, I want to make a note that our Parks and Rec Committee meeting is not this month. We are combining with the commission for April 6th at 6 p.m. And also the Bunny Extravaganza is next Saturday. So sign your little ones up online. I also love seeing so many people on our Zoom call tonight. It makes me feel like the community's here. So thank you all for coming, and we have public comment next. So if you have anything to add, I look forward to that, and thank you for your comments. That is all.
Zach?
I would just like to say again to Sarah, it's probably been a overwhelming first couple weeks with, I think, we do have a lot of things going on, but hopefully you're not discouraged by all that. You're doing a good job, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so that brings us to our final public comment. I see Sherry already has her hand raised. If anyone else has a comment, you can find your name under participants, click on the little blue hand, or you can go under reactions and use the high five reaction. So Julie, if you want to let us know who you're unmuting.
All right, Sherry. Oh, hi, good evening. This is Sherry Bowman, 498 North 25th Street. I just want to thank the council for a wonderful meeting tonight. I actually took notes, which was kind of fun. So a lot of hard work. I also wanted to welcome Sarah as our new borough manager, so welcome. I also want to thank our police chief on behalf of our Cumberland and Boulevard Improvement Task Force Group. Thank you for enforcing the speed limit. In fact, just a couple days I was out there walking it all thinking, slow down everybody. My gosh, this isn't a highway. So thank you for being out there. But I just wanted to send a thanks to everybody for a great meeting tonight. I don't have anything specific complaints or anything. It's more of just like a thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Actually, if you enjoy taking notes, you can take the minutes for us. We're always looking for people to do that.
Well, we'll see how good they are.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, Amy.
Hi, so this is Amiz Mkwala Cook, and I have the privilege of serving as the Camp Hill Borough representative to the Frederickson Library. I am requesting for the Borough Council to consider approving its annual contribution to the library in the amount of $6,000. As we know, the Frederickson Library is an absolute gem and jewel in our community, and just being a part of that institution is maybe very proud to see how they have led the county in its efforts to figure out how to serve the community during these very challenging COVID times. So I'm happy to entertain any questions, but my comment is simply to enter this request for consideration and approval.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? We typically do a $6,000.
We do, just have to put it to committee, so bring it for vote and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I just saw a check written to the
No,
library.
it wasn't. It was written, but it has not been sent yet. Because
okay.
we knew she would be coming. We thought she'd be here at the first public comment so we could vote on it during the meeting. So I'm not sure, Sarah, if we vote after public comments, or do we push it to April?
I mean, it's a budgeted expense, but I don't want to go out of order if you're accustomed to not taking action on anything once you open the second public comment period.
Is it crucial that it comes now versus a month from now for any reason? Amy, do you mind answering that question?
She's Don't,
I mean, do you need it? Can we vote on this next month? Is there any urgency to this?
Thank you. I wasn't able to unmute myself, but I am now. I would say it's not urgent. There was quite a delay last year in the receipt of the check, and I think it was just sort of like an administrative thing. There was no intent to withhold the funds, is my understanding. So yes, I was actually, there's a board meeting, a library board meeting tonight, which is one of the reasons why I missed the first round of public comments. I would be fine to report back that this would be voted on at the next meeting to follow procedure.
okay, thanks. We will make sure to put it on the agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And to refresh my memory, it's part of the, like, we budgeted last year, like $14,000 towards community projects, including the Lion Foundation Library. So they had to submit the request and then we vote on and go from there. It's not an automatic budget item each year, Sarah. We change it, make it part of a community pot of money. And obviously we always say, yes, it's a good thing to do, just as we have for the Lion Foundation.
Yeah, there's a line that's called community contributions.
Right.
And that's where it comes
Right.
out of. Okay.
Right. But each community, like different community groups apply for some of that money. So submit in writing what they want, then we vote and donate the
So
money.
hopefully we'll do that during the budget process this year. So, I mean, if you can come back with something in August or September, so I can make sure that it's ready for discussion during the budget process, and then it won't be delayed at all. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
I think when we discussed the budget, we discussed essentially the $6,000 for the Lion Foundation, 6,000 for the library, with the assumption that they come and ask, like, it's not just, that there's a request put in. And then I believe we budgeted $2,000 for smaller, kind of unanticipated, unknown requests.
Or other, yeah. Yeah, Alyssa, I think that's accurate what you just said.
Right. We haven't said no to either one, and I don't foresee us saying no. It just wasn't an automatic 6,000 for each. Right.
Okay, I think we have another hand up.
All right, Jennifer?
Thank you. Two things. First and foremost, I just want to extend my thanks to the ad hoc zoning committee for its continued work under the direction of Mr. Guerin, and especially to the residents who have volunteered their time to do that, some of which are my neighbors. And lastly, I just wanted to hopefully get some assurance and clarification. When you're talking about using Dropbox, was that just solely for the purposes in the past to share agendas and no other borough documents are being communicated in that manner?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other hands, any other public comments?
That is all.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the attendees, and we look forward to seeing you in April.
I'd like to make a motion to dismiss.
Adjourn.
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 You
All
can
right.
dismiss us now.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.